Ahead on the show, school districts are now starting to figure out how to enforce a new law aimed at limiting the use of cell phones in schools. Also, we're going to take a deep dive into recent hiccups at some of the nation's busiest airports and a warning today from the FDA about a popular pain medication for your dogs. This is The Take. Let's get it. Hello and welcome. I'm Chesley McNeil, and this is The Take, where we go above and beyond the headlines and we look at the why and how stories are impacting you and your community. We invite the experts in to share their take and give us a little expertise and have a little bit of fun as well. Going to start you off with the forecast. We had a couple thunderstorms around the forecast area for this morning. Those thunderstorms have begun to dissipate just a little bit, so that's some good news for us. And we're going to see more pop up a little bit later on this afternoon. Now, a few of those thunderstorms that happen to break out in the area could produce some very heavy rain, some gusty winds, maybe even some hail with them. But that will be on the few and far between side. But be prepared just in case one happens to hit your area. Now, you can't really pinpoint exactly where. It has been very sporadic over the last couple of days, and today is no different. We will warm up into the 80s for this afternoon, right around 83 degrees for our forecast high. 88 for the high temperature on Thursday. Getting hot around here. 90 for the high temperature by the time we hit Friday. By the time we get to Saturday, we'll stay at 88 with a 30% chance for a scattered shower or a thunderstorm, 20% chance by Sunday, and staying hot as we head into next week. You know, one is a big day for us here on 11Alive Plus. We have a new way for you to get your live radar and extend your weather forecast and watch it on your own time. We've launched Weather Impact 24/7, which allows you to stay up to date and get all your local weather impacts right here on 11Alive Plus. So you get to go in depth with the forecast and give extended coverage, especially during severe weather. We'll be live right here on 11Live Plus with all your forecast updates. So keep it locked right here for the very latest on your weather. All right, this is a pivotal day for Governor Brian Kemp. He faces a midnight deadline to act on a slew of bills passed during the latest legislative sessions. Now, Kemp has already signed more than 100 bills already, but has yet to issue any vetoes. Some of the bills yet to be signed, including requiring nonpartisan elections for all magistrate judges, bringing back the state's required or expired tax credit for post-production costs for film and television, and requiring police departments to accept digital IDs during traffic stops. Any bills that are not signed or vetoed by midnight will automatically become law. One bill the governor has signed is the Distraction-Free Education Act. This bans personal electronic devices, including cell phones, for students in kindergarten through 8th grade during the school day. The ban will take an effect no later than July 1st of next year, giving schools time to develop and implement some of those policies. Here now to talk with us more about how the school districts will implement this policy is Vidalia Turner, president of the Georgia Federation for Teachers. Welcome back to the show.
Good morning, and thank you for having me this morning.
All right.
We're excited about this bill.
Yes, talk to me about it. What were your thoughts?
A long time coming, but finally is here. And in fact, what would happen is that in elementary schools and in middle schools beginning school year 2026, those cell phones will be collected in the morning and they would be passed back out at the end of the day. We are hoping that we can get that bill expanded for high schools.
Yeah.
Teachers and educators are overjoyed, and some parents are also.
Good deal, good deal. What do you see as the biggest practical challenge in enforcing this new cell phone ban?
Collecting the phones, and the districts are going to have to do that because there are hundreds of kids, sometimes thousands of kids in a school. And of course, just like any other contraband, schools are challenged with collecting and securing whatever they have to secure. So it's going to be a cost involved and training involved in new equipment.
Would that be those pouches, or how will the phones be stored? Do you know?
Well, right now we're looking at pouches, individual pouches, and then another secured place somewhere in the building. But all of that's to be worked out.
So the schools must adopt the policy by, is it January 1st by 2026? Is that what we're hearing?
Well, yeah, they're going to have to, they have to implement this in August 2026. So that between now and then, they're really going to have to do some catch up to make sure that they have everything in place so they can secure those phones and pass those phones back out to the proper owners. So that's going to be a challenge.
Yeah. Do you think it's enough time, really? I mean, we're talking about 7 months here. Is that enough time to make all this happen?
Probably not, but schools do magic every day.
I do understand that. Walk me through it. I mean, what would be the? I guess you also have to have to indicate or implement some type of policy if kids are caught. I guess with phones. What do you do then?
Yeah.
You know, how do you implement that, or how do you see that going?
All of that should be worked out. I'm sure that the parents will be notified. More than likely, schools and school districts will have something for the parent or guardian and or child to sign. We think it's best that the child just keep the phone at home because we can see a lot of problems and hiccups in implementing devices that many kids are actually addicted to. And some parents actually think the child has a right to, even in the classroom. So the administration is going to have to square it. And let me say this also to the public. Teachers and administrators really aren't off during the summer. People think they are. So this is something added to their plates now, but we're taking it delightfully so that the administration and the teachers can work through this. I can see kids continuously now that get through those evolved machines, and they may go off, a lot of them coming through at one time, and that's in order not to bring weapons in. Sometimes they'll have pipes, and then the teachers are supposed to be trained. But when you have, and they are, some of them are trained, some of them are not, because a lot is being put upon our districts, so that the districts will have to have special training.
Okay. All right. Is this also going to, real quick question here, will it change the way that you guys will have to teach? I know that you probably have been implementing cell phone use and maybe in some curriculum. Will it have to change at all?
No, I don't see anything having to change except children and having to be engaged more with their minds and using their cognitive skills. Social platforms are good, but it's a two-sided coin, and a great distraction happens to be the social media and those devices in those children's hands.
Yeah. All right. President Turner, really appreciate you joining us this morning. We'll be hearing more about it as we get closer, and probably have you back on to talk more about it as we get a little bit closer trying to implement that new law. Thanks so much.
All right. Thank you.
All right. No problem. Folks, don't go anywhere. We're back with more right after this. All right, welcome back to the show. President Donald Trump continues his visit to the Middle East today after announcing deals with Saudi Arabia and ending sanctions in Syria. Joining us now is NBC Washington correspondent Alice Barr, who's been covering politics for years now. And Alice, just a few moments ago, the president landed in Qatar. What's the president been saying lately about his trip so far?
Yeah, he's been speaking very highly about all of the Arab Gulf state leaders that he's been meeting with, and he's really making an effort to strengthen business ties in this region. Qatar is his second stop here, and he's now meeting with leaders there. He has arrived at the airport and has gone to his first sit-down bilateral meeting, and it comes after some pretty big announcements in Saudi Arabia, where he was just earlier this morning. He met there with a number of Gulf leaders and talked about the Saudis agreeing to buy $142 billion worth of American military equipment, part of a promised $600 billion investment in the U.S., though he kind of was nudging the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia to up that $600 billion investment to $1 trillion. Why not? Let's make it $1 trillion. But that gives you an idea of the way that he's approaching this trip with all of these kind of wealthy Gulf states that he's meeting with, again, with Qatar now, Saudi Arabia earlier, and next United Arab Emirates. He's really approaching this as a means to secure more investments for the United States through stronger ties with these countries. How
has his message been in the region, and particularly in his break with past interventions, being received by the Gulf leaders?
Right. So he spoke about basically feeling like in the past administrations, American administrations, had been too quick to try to solve problems in the Middle East, to get involved. And he made the statement that he thought that people in the Middle East should make up their own minds about their future, that a lot of the booming growth that he, is trying to kind of tie the U.S. to in terms of getting more investments. Of course, this is an oil-rich part of the world, so we have to say that. But that a lot of the booming investments there, he said, have not been dictated by, Western countries, that's been dictated by these nations themselves, and that they should be allowed to continue on their own path. That's certainly getting very strong response. And it comes, though, at the same time, we have to say that, he has also said many times that he would step in to defend the U.S. and its allies, at the same time that he's saying these countries need to be able to chart their own future. There's what's happening in Gaza and the fact that President Trump has spoken about maybe remaking Gaza into kind of its own luxury resort potential area. That is something that's been greeted by Palestinians and many in the Arab world with a lot of skepticism and with criticism, in fact. So, a few contradictions there, but certainly overall that idea is being greeted very warmly, the idea of giving more authority to the Middle Eastern countries to make up their own minds and having Western nations kind of take a step back. Gotcha.
You mentioned luxury. How has lawmakers been reacting to President Trump's willingness to accept this luxury jet as a gift?
Right. So this is the Qatari government's offer, though it is not finalized, we have to say. But it's been floated that Qatar would offer a $400 million luxury jet to the State Department, would be offered as a gift, or rather the Pentagon, the Defense Department, would be offered as a gift to be used as Air Force One until the end of President Trump's term, and then it would be transferred to the Trump Presidential Library. There are a lot of questions there. There's a component of the Constitution that says you can't take foreign gifts, at least especially without congressional approval. And there are lawmakers in both parties who are saying there's certainly the possibility of a conflict of interest here of taking such a large foreign gift. And then there are a lot of national security concerns as well. Qatar has been known to sponsor, it supports Hamas at this point and to sponsor terrorism in the past. Certainly President Trump has criticized Qatar for that. And so taking a gift like this, it would have to, a lot of aviation experts say, be taken apart piece by piece to make sure there are no listening devices in there, and would require a lot of very costly upgrades to make it what Air Force One needs to be. So not necessarily just a free gift, clearing out. Gotcha. All right, Alice, really appreciate your insight. Thanks for joining us today. All right, here is a live look at, or a look at least, at Hartsfield-Jackson, where aside for some showers earlier, it's been pretty much a smooth ride today, smooth sailing, but that wasn't the case over the weekend. On Sunday, hundreds of flights at Hartsfield-Jackson were delayed due to a ground stoppage because of a runway equipment issue, followed by severe weather. Disruptions affected both arriving and departing flights. Meanwhile, the situation is amplified at Newark's Liberty International Airport. It's been experiencing significant issues recently, primarily related to air traffic control and staffing shortages. These problems have led to widespread flight delays and cancellations, causing considerable disruptions for travelers. On Sunday's Meet the Press, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy tried to address some of these safety concerns.
The system is old, right? This is a system that's 25 at best, sometimes 50 years old. The Congress and the country haven't paid attention to it, right? They expect it to work. And so now I think the lights are blinking, the sirens are turning, and they're saying, listen, we have to fix this.
Yes, we do. Here now to make some sense of it is Dr. Lori Garrow with the Georgia Tech's College of Engineering School of Civil and Engineering and Environmental Engineering. Welcome to the show.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
All right, let's talk about these hiccups at these airports. What's your take on it?
Say it again, sorry.
What's your take on these hiccups at these airports, in particular Newark?
Yeah, so I think that we're starting to see sort of the beginning of infrastructure stresses, right? Over the last 20 years, we have, or 20, 30, 40 years, we've just seen increasing growth in the number of passengers, number of flights going into the airports, and we're reaching capacity. So we don't have a lot of room when something goes wrong to really recover from all of the delays.
How big of an infrastructure problem is this going to be? Like, all right, so we're starting up at Newark. We're probably starting to see some at some other airports as well. I believe Philadelphia had some issues as well over the weekend. How major of a problem is this going to be?
So Newark is a little bit isolated because they used to have the air traffic controllers in New York, and then they moved them to Philadelphia. But one of the systems that was basically, presenting the radar where the planes are still was in New York. So they had to transmit that data down to Philly. And that's where the issue came in, was that they didn't have as many high-speed telecommunication lines, fiber lines going down. And then when you run fiber, where they did have it, the systems are so old, they had to slow the speeds down. So there was basically communication issues happening. But we don't normally move, controllers from one area to the other. So in that case, I think that particular problem will be isolated.
So it's more of a technical issue more so than a staff shortage issue, or is it both?
It's both. It's both. Duffy noted that there were more than 3,000 air traffic controllers short right now. One of the challenges has been during COVID, I like to say never before have we seen the airline industry shrink demand so quickly and then ramp back up so quickly. And it was hard to respond to that. So the training that happens out in Oklahoma, the training center there was understaffed. So they weren't getting as many air traffic controllers back into trained up to basically be able to handle this whiplash effect that came back.
Do you foresee?
So
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Nope. Go ahead.
Do you foresee this being a widespread problem? In particular, here at Hartsfield-Jackson in Atlanta, what would it be also some infrastructure issues down the road for us as well?
Yeah, so the way I like to think about it is that if you're working on aging technology, you have to put in really high safety margins. So imagine you're traveling on the road and you know how they say leave 2 seconds between you and the car ahead of you. Well, in aging infrastructure, you say leave 10 seconds between you and the car ahead of you. So we can make things safer if we move to newer technologies, increase the number of planes coming through while maintaining safety if we were to upgrade. So the more people flying, the more planes we have in the sky, the bigger the problem's going to get unless we move to some of the newer technologies. So
we have a big holiday coming up, right? Memorial Day is coming up. There'll be a lot of people taking vacation, that kind of thing. Do you anticipate a lot of disruptions due to that volume of people going and flying?
Well, I haven't seen the weather forecast, and that's usually the most volatile this time of year, so we can't really predict thunderstorms. So, I mean, I hate to say it, but as long as we don't have thunderstorms, I think we're good. But if we have weather, then, expect delays, yeah.
What would be the priority, real quickly? Would the priority be the people or the equipment?
I think it's both, but I think right now probably the people on air traffic control is the biggest issue to get more people trained up. And that's not an easy process. It takes between 1 to 3 years to train an individual. Yeah, 1 to 3 years to train an individual to basically be qualified to run an air traffic control for a particular space. So, it's going to be growing pains for a while, but, we need to make the investments and improve things.
All right, Dr. Lori, really appreciate that. We're going to have to get some of these young people involved in air traffic control, start training them up. Really appreciate you being on the show today.
Thank you.
All right, take care. Plenty more stories for you coming up right after the break. This is The Take. This is 11Alive Plus. We're back right after this. All right, welcome back. A warning today from the FDA about a popular pain medication for dogs. Caitlin Ross spoke to grieving pet owners across Metro Atlanta who say it may have contributed to their beloved dog's death. Caitlin, this story is heartbreaking. 6 families have impacted, 6 dogs lost here. What made you start looking into this?
Chesley, it all started with one tip, one family who said their dog died shortly after getting Librela. When I posted about it online, I was flooded with similar stories from families across Metro Atlanta. That's when I knew it was a lot bigger than this.
So Librela is supposed to help dogs, right, out of the pain. What exactly is it?
That's a great question. It's an arthritis injection. It's meant to give dogs relief from chronic joint pain. It's made by Zoetis, a massive animal pharmaceutical company. The drug was approved in the U.S. last year, but it's been used in other countries for a while now.
Caitlin, did all the dogs have the same reaction to the medication?
Not exactly the same, but very similar timelines. Most of the families said their dogs were healthy or at least stable. And then within days of getting the Librela shot, they got very sick. Some had seizures, others couldn't walk, some just suddenly declined.
Was it the same vet giving the same shots or giving these shots?
Chesley, that's what we wanted to know, but no. These dogs were treated at different clinics all across Metro Atlanta. That's part of what's so concerning to families. Librela is really widely used.
What is the company behind this medication saying about it?
Well, they're standing by the safety of the drug. They say that more than 25 million doses of Librela and the cat version Solensia have been given out worldwide, and that serious side effects are rare. But they also acknowledge that even one adverse reaction is too many when it's your pet.
We talked about the FDA. How are they involved in all this?
Just last month, the FDA sent out a warning to veterinarians outlining potential side effects, things like seizures, stumbling, even death. We filed a public records request and found hundreds of reports of dogs dying after getting the injection.
Have you heard that some of the families were offered some money to stay quiet on this situation?
Yeah, one family, the Raricks, they lost their dog Bear. They told us Zoetis offered them over $2,000, but they would have had to sign a non-disclosure agreement, and they turned it down because they said it was vital to warn other families about this.
Obviously, families want a little bit more out of this. What are they looking for?
Well, most of them want more transparency. They say they had no idea this kind of reaction was possible. A few told us they want the drug off the market.
Wow. And so your report will be coming on tonight. We'll be listening for that as well. Is this something that probably people at home right now may have this medication or maybe trying to get it done? What should they know?
Yeah, Chesley, 25 million doses of this medication have been given worldwide, so this is a really widely used drug. Some people told me that they went to their vets asking about it. Others say the vets recommended it to them. So this is happening in veterinarian offices really across the country. Those vets did report the adverse side effects straight to the FDA, though. So now the FDA did send the letter to veterinarians' offices. They are looking into it, but for these families who lost their dogs, that warning came too late.
So let me just clarify, this is something that you go to your vet and get. It's not something that you get and apply to your pet yourself.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
It has to be given at a veterinarian's office. It's an injection meant to treat arthritis in dogs.
And most veterinarians know about this, or they're familiar with this now?
Yeah, a lot of them are familiar with the drug. Some, though, said they didn't know about this warning, so they weren't able to alert patients that these adverse side effects could happen.
All right, Caitlin, always informative. Really appreciate that information from you. And I know our pet owners out there are loving you for this information.
Yes, absolutely.
And they will be tuning in tonight. Thanks so much. You can watch Caitlin's full report tonight at 11 o'clock right on 11 Live News and here on 11 Live Plus. And for everyone out there concerned about their pets or wants to report a reaction, we have a link to the FDA reporting on our reporting page on 11alive.com. All right, I'm back with my final take right after this. Stay tuned. All right, welcome back to the show. We have some wet weather out there once again. Today is going to be another rainy day for us. Not everyone gets wet. It's only a 30% chance. A few thunderstorms could be around. We'll get a dry day on Thursday and Friday with a few clouds overhead, but we're not looking for any rainfall out there, and the temperature will warm up on you. You're looking at 88 for the high temperature on Thursday. Friday, near 90 for the high. You're going to get a taste of summer because that humidity is going to start to creep up on you as well. We'll go into the weekend hot. 88 for the high temperature on Saturday. We got a front that's going to make its way into the area. May stall, bringing a 30% chance for showers on Saturday, 20% chance on Sunday, slightly cooler at 85, and then we heat right back up again as we start the work week next week. Looking at partly sunny skies on Monday. You're looking at 88 for the high, 91 for the high temperature by Tuesday. All right, before we go, my final take. 8 months after his death, Pete Rose now eligible to make it into the Hall of Fame, believe it or not. Yeah, Rose, the league's all-time career hit leader, was permanently banned from baseball back in 1989 for betting on games. Now, he spent the next 3 decades of his life fighting that ban. Yesterday, MLB Commissioner Rob Manfred announced a change in policy that says permanent bans would expire upon death, which allows Pete Rose and about 16 others to be reinstated. Now, this doesn't make him a lock for the Hall, but you can't deny his stats. Along with being only one of 2 players to have over 4,000 hits, he's a 7-time All-Star, 17-time All-Star, most hits, most time at bats. It's a controversial topic, folks. I get it. And most feel like he should have been in the Hall of Fame a long time ago, while baseball purists say never. It's a little contradictory now that you can bet anything, right? And he's been betting on baseball. Look, full disclosure, I was a Philadelphia fan all of my life. I knew Pete Rose as Charlie Hustle. Perhaps now it's time for us to start judging him on what he did on the field. It's called the Hall of Fame, not the Hall of Saints. Let him in, folks. Let him in. That's all we have for you today, folks. Thanks for joining us. Encourage someone today. Make it a great one.